Today on Dads on Tech, Underage on Facebook, texting and driving a dangerous combination, car tech talking about MyFord Touch and the iPod 2, and Google ships its last CR48 laptop. This is Dads on Tech, episode 3. Today, the show, we're talking about a bunch of things. And the show's been recorded on Monday, March 14th, 2011. And with me, I have my co-host. I have Zeb Green of BraveMover.tv, and we have Dan Anderson, just a devoted daddy blogger. What's going on, guys?
How's it going?
What's going on?
I'm doing all right. I'm just sitting here with my wine. Take a sip.
Nice. We should have that. We should have a dedicated wine or beer. It's optional.
We definitely do that. We have to tap somebody to give us like wine or beer.
We should call up Gary V and have him send over a couple of bottles.
Absolutely. I make note of that. Wine or beer.
Wine, Gary V.
So one of the things I want to, and you know what? Not that I'm surprised. I'm really not surprised that kids do this, but what I'm surprised of is that parents aren't more focused on what their kids are doing on Facebook. And the problem with Facebook is that it is against Facebook policy if you're 13 years or younger to be on Facebook, right? One of the first things that Facebook asks you when you're signing up with a new account is how old you are. And the minute you say you're 13 or younger, Facebook immediately just says, nope, sorry, you can't do it. You can't get on. And the reason why that happens is because there's actually a federal law in place that actually prevents children of that age to be on networks of this kind. And and I know kids will lie and they'll say that they're 18, 19, or whatever they'll say. But what really bothers me is the fact that parents aren't more on top of this. And I know we're all busy. I know a lot of households have a mom and dad that both work, and there's a lot of stuff going on in the house. But I think when it comes to your kids' safety, especially online safety, it's very important for us to be extra careful of where they are and what they're doing online.
Yeah, I know so many kids that are under 13 that have Facebook accounts, and primarily I think the reason why is because they convinced their parents to get them smartphones, and I think that's the leader into it. I mean, you can have all the monitoring at home, and you can have the computer in a shared space and all that good stuff that you should do, but when you have a phone in your pocket that has all of these social media services at the drop of a hat, that's the main toss into the foray into the world of cyberspace, so to speak, and especially Facebook. And they know, and it's not hard to lie on these sites. It's not. There's nothing that's that's restricting them. Just they put a month, a date, and a year, and they could just change the year. There's no verification process.
Anything they want.
And
exactly.
Same thing for the YouTube videos where it'll say restricted to a certain age. You basically just pop in whatever age you want, and it's easy enough to bypass. So you have to wonder at a certain point, why do they even put that there other than just for the checkbox for the company to say we're meeting that legal obligation? It doesn't really serve a real barrier to keep the kids from the content.
Right, for sure. Yeah,
it really does. I mean, and we can go, as parents, we can go and blame the company, right? And I think that's our knee-jerk reaction, right? Is to blame Facebook, blame YouTube, blame any other social network, that my son's on there, my daughter's on there. But I really think that we're all in technology here, right? And what more can the company do? Like Facebook, for example, what more can Facebook do? I mean, they already have the age verification. We all know that you can put in whatever date you want on there, and then boom, you're in Facebook. So what else can the company do? I mean, I really, from a security standpoint, I really don't know. And it must be a nightmare for companies like Facebook. And again, I go back to being just a parent who needs to watch over their child to make sure that they're not on Facebook if they're under 13 years old, to make sure that they don't have a PC or a laptop in their room. And if there is a PC or laptop in the house, that PC or laptop is in a common area. And like Zev said, smartphone, it's tough to manage smartphones, right? Because they can pretty much put anything they want on a smartphone. Maybe kids shouldn't have a smartphone that are 13 and younger.
Right. I think also the one thing that may kill Facebook if they did it, but the thing that they should do is to, if you're under the age of, let's say, 17, if you're under 17, that you have to be linked to your parents' Facebook account. So in order for you to be on Facebook, you should be tied somehow, and that includes access rights to an adult's account. Now I know they'll never do it, never ever do it, but they should. That's something that would assist in at least giving some controls to parents, but that would make it uncool, and that would make it something that would not be, there would be some of the service that would come out because kids want to be on their own and independent and do stupid stuff, and that's fine. I know a lot of kids who have two accounts. I know a lot of kids who have one account which they link to their parents, and they have another one where they link to their friends. So there's always going to be this cat and mouse game, but I think that it's become large enough and successful enough that now they could start implementing policy changes slowly, and especially since they can tie a cyberbully type of thing into it.
Sure.
Yeah.
And what's worse than cyberbullying, right, is just these child predators. Mm-hmm. That the part of that story that I sent you guys was a child predator making believe that he was a girl in this child's classroom, and the kid actually befriended her, and it just went south really fast from there.
Right.
And I could see that as a kid. I mean, if you got an invitation from a friend at school, wouldn't you just accept it? I wouldn't even think twice about it being some creep on the other side.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And you're a grown man, and he's a 13-year-old who doesn't have all the knowledge you have. They may think they do, but they don't. And of course, they'll say, "Oh, sure, that's Sally. Yeah, I know it from home ec or whatever." And then things get really bad from there. And again, I mean, I'm a really big fan of not having a PC, a laptop of any form inside a child's room. Put it in a common area where you can actually, as you're walking by, you can glance over real quick and see where they are. If they're on Facebook, if they're doing their homework, if they're on some website that's questionable. Speak to them. Speak to them and tell them exactly why this is not right for a 13-year-old to be on Facebook.
But that's going to be an impossibility soon, though, right? Because everybody's going to get an iPad for their kid for Christmas, and then they're off to wherever they are.
There are 30 million iPads being sold this year, so every kid in America will have one. But you know what? It really, you can't take technology away from our kids. They need technology to continue to grow. But what we can do as parents is constantly speak to them and make sure and put those barriers, put those rules in place, saying, you know what, from this time to that time, no computer time. That's it. You're doing your homework, you're watching TV, or whatever the case might be. It just comes down to good parenting.
Yeah.
Well, when I was growing up, I remember my parents even monitored what books I read, that even if they came from the school's library, they still wanted to take a look at it, make sure the content was appropriate for my age, and I think it was beneficial, and I think that, that's just talking about a book, but now we're talking about more modern things. It's just responsible parenting to know what your kids are reading, what they're involved in, what they're watching on TV, and that right from there is going to help stem a lot of the issue.
It's funny though, right? Because it's the same philosophy from generation to the next, right? Your parents did that with you, their parents probably did that with them, and now you're going to do that with your son. It's just almost like parental common sense. I have to speak to my son. I have to make sure that he is reading age-appropriate material. He is at an age-appropriate site. He has age-appropriate friends, so on and so forth. It just, I don't know if that's a proper terminology saying that's That's how I see it. But can't really blame Facebook or Twitter or MySpace or whatever. They only have so much fault in this game. I think a large part of the fault falls upon the parents. Whether it be mom or dad or both.
Yeah, I mean the parents only have a certain amount of ability to monitor it. They can demand as much as they want, meaning they can demand to know the password to their account. They can demand to be in a area that is monitored and make sure that they can see them. But once they're off to school and they have that smartphone in their pocket, they're totally on their own until you go on and make sure what they're doing, to be able to monitor their stuff. And that's where I think it's Facebook's responsibility to make sure that there's that linkage, because you as a child can block your parent from seeing certain things. You can block them from seeing anything from your friends, or you could block them from seeing certain photos, and that's a problem. And if you can do that, I understand over the age of 17, let's say, I get it. That's fine. Once you're kind of in that age group, I get it. You can start blocking people, blocking family members that are kind of your guardian. But under that age, I have a very, very hard time with the sell that that's a good thing. That I can't access my kid's Facebook account to make sure that they're not doing something stupid on there, or that someone else is doing something stupid to them. And that's a problem I have with Facebook. I know they'll never change it because that goes against the cool model, but that's my personal belief.
It also might go against the revenue model also. It might hurt the bottom line if they actually start instituting all of these rules and regulations and linking and stuff like that.
Right.
And it also opens the company up for liability. If they take one step toward trying to monitor and regulate this, it shows that it's something they're actively trying to address. And then people can say, well, they didn't go far enough.
Right.
True indeed. It's a can of worms, my friends. It's a can of worms. Another can of worms is texting and driving. I still find it hard to believe that there are places in this country where, local governments are still debating if they should make this illegal or if they should water down these rules and regulations. I really think summarily across the board, texting and driving should be illegal. Period. I mean, you're behind the wheel of this massively powerful moving machine that can not only kill you and anybody in your car, but can also kill pedestrians and other people that you may hit. I just really think that it's a no-go. I mean, to me it's a no-brainer, right? You should not text and you should not drive. Period. You should not be on the phone with the handset, talking on the phone. Because we've all seen it plenty of times. I mean, it infuriates me to no end when I'm driving and there's this jerk on the phone and he's just chit-chatting on the phone and he's making a right into me. And I have to stop, and then he looks at me like it's my fault. So it's rather annoying. And so I just really wish that I don't know what I wish. I know what I wish. I wish, again, summarily, that across the board in all of our states that this was illegal. But unfortunately, it's not. It's still a debate in some local governments.
I don't see the issue here. Meaning, I don't see how somebody could not say that it's bad. I don't see how they could be anything but absolutely positively on the side of not doing it. But there's two kind of provisions. Number one, a lot of these devices now have GPS in them. And I was actually pulled over once, and I had the GPS map in my hand. I was holding it like this, or I should be like this, right? So I was driving and I had the GPS in my hand, and of course he, pulled me over thinking that, of course, I was on the cell phone. I was like, no, that's the GPS. He says, is there really any difference? I said, you're probably right. But the truth is, but
technically you're wrong.
Technically, he was wrong for pulling me over. But no, yeah. So eat that, copper. No, I don't know. But no, but no, I mean, but it's true. The more distractions, of course, that you have, just as bad as eating a Twinkie while you're driving. It's not good either, or sipping coffee or whatever. But I think that this is only a very, very small stage of where we're going to be, because right now we're in the transition period between going with something that's like a like a My Touch, Ford My Touch, where it reads you your texts, or you could speak to it and leave a text or Twitter message or an email or whatever, and have that read to you. Also, as we saw, Samsung's technology with their transparent displays, we're going to see a lot more heads-up displays for those windshields, which is going to be very, very interesting. So I happen to think that we're in a very within the next 5 years window that everything's going to kind of change to another version. We're not going to have the texting anymore to the same degree. It's going to slightly be changed towards voice control, towards audible reading, and a lot of that will be hands-free from now on. But as far as the law should be the law. It should just be like buckling your seatbelt or not drinking while driving. Texting while driving is completely distracting. So
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree. I think that any distraction is the big issue, that when you're driving, you should do everything you can to remain focused. And I'm glad there are laws that can zero in on using your cell phone while you're driving, but at the same time, I think that it would be nice if there's an opportunity to really just apply that to a broader spectrum of anything you're doing, whether you're shaving or putting on your makeup or any number of distractions that not even tech related. Your dog sitting in your lap, whatever it is, that those are dangerous things to do.
Wait, you don't shave while you drive? No.
Not now that I have that the stubble thing that we
exactly.
talked about in the last
I have my
episode.
5 o'clock shadow every day, so I can afford.
I love my 5 o'clock shadow. I can't do. You know what it is for me? When I was in the military, for about 5-6 years, and it's just like you, Dan. We had to shave every single day. Your skin had to be like baby fresh, and if it wasn't baby fresh, oh boy, you were in trouble. So I think from that point forward, when I finally got out of the military, I just rebelled, and I was like, you know what? I'm never again going to use a straight blade ever again. I will have a beard or a 5 o'clock shadow. Unfortunately, I can't grow a beard. When I grow the beard in, it just gets all crazy and insane. So I just leave the 5 o'clock shadow. So there you go. My 5 o'clock shadow story.
5 o'clock shadow story. No,
one thing here, though, so 87% of adults actually believe that this also is wrong. Texting while driving is very, very bad, and it should not be allowed in any shape, way, or form. One of the things, from one of the stories that I submitted to you guys, one of the things that I really liked, that there was that one school that actually had a driving simulator. Mm-hmm. So the kids would pop in the car and they would start texting, and the car would be driving the simulator, and because they were distracted, they would get into a car accident, or they would hit something would hit them, or something tragic would happen, just so they would get a feel and understanding of the reality of being distracted while you're driving. And I thought that was a really, really good tool to teach a kid why texting and driving is a bad thing. I mean, is that something that you guys think that should we see that more in schools, or should?
Yeah, I thought it was great, and I think of as a kid, I remember getting so excited whenever there was a field trip, let alone when something would come to the school. And growing up in Southern California, we used to have this earthquake simulator thing that would come to local schools. It would drive around, and you got inside, and the whole building would shake like you're in a schoolroom and simulate it. And it stood out in my head, and I still remember that to the day. I just imagine if we had like a thing like this, the tech simulator, and I think not only is it teaching the kid to not do it themselves when they get old enough, but you got if I was a parent driving and my child starts saying, "Hey, Dad, you're not supposed to text," I mean, that in itself is an alarm system, and you want to set a good example for your child. So you're not only helping the child, but also their parents. I think it's a great idea. I wish there was more of it. I'd never seen one of those before.
Good. Yeah, I mean, neither have I. I mean, it's the first time I've heard about this, and I'm very happy to hear about this. So I hope more and more schools, and I'm assuming it's very expensive, and this is probably on a list of 1 to 10. This is probably number 11 on a school's to-do list. So
well, this is kind of like the iteration of drinking while driving type of thing. I think that definitely should be rolled into that. When they put on the drunk goggles and they make you drive, or they used to have the machine where the cops brought around the 5-mile-an-hour crash machine. The sled.
Oh, really?
When it goes down, and if you weren't wearing your seatbelt, how jarring that 5-mile-an-hour hit was. Yeah. So yeah, I just think that they should just incorporate it like like they did on with those tools.
Yeah, I completely agree. All right, so moving on to a little more happy news. The last two stories are kind of a little depressing, right? Car tech, and something that myself, Zev, and Dan are all close to. So, what was that? What was it? Was it in October, November last year? We actually hooked up with Jennifer Brace from Ford, and she was showing us the MyFord Touch, and that was in the what car was that again? The Ford Focus, the 2012 Ford Focus. Yeah. And wow, I mean, I think this is the second time we've been in a car with the MyFord Touch, and I know both you and I were absolutely, positively floored on how excellent this system really is.
Absolutely.
And the MyFord Touch is built on Microsoft Auto 2.0. MyFord Touch is an application built by Ford, the Ford Motor Company. And I think they've done a wonderful job in building out a really, really nice piece of software. I mean, it'll read text messages to you. You can tell it, play your favorite songs, call somebody. You can answer phone calls from there. One of the really cool features that I absolutely love is the fact that when you're on your phone, when you're on your cell phone, as you're walking to your car and you open your car door, it switches the cell phone conversation from your handset to the car.
Right.
And then when you turn your car off and you get out of your car, and if you're speaking to somebody within the car, it switches the conversation from the car back to your cell phone. I thought that was fantastic. I mean, what a wonderful, wonderful system.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it.
Chance to take a look at the MyFord?
Yeah, I saw that, and I even in the past I had a chance to. I had a rental car with a Mustang that had the Ford Sync in it, and even just that little bit there. I was just really impressed with how far Ford has come with their technology, and as much I hear I was with a Mustang, and I actually spent more time playing with the sync thing just to test out the audio than I was trying to do burnouts in the parking lot with the rentals.
I would too.
That's a shame. That's a real waste. And you go to the Hertz, and they've got those Ford Shelbys, Shelby GTs lined up, ready for you to rent at Orlando International. And then you just sit in the parking lot playing with my Ford Touch.
But I love this stuff. I think it's great that they're putting that into the cars, and I think what Ford is doing right is that they're putting a lot of this technology into their entry-level vehicles, and where traditionally I think other manufacturers have kept some of the gadgets and gizmos in the higher-end vehicles. So I think this is making it more accessible, and I feel like it makes it. To me, when I'm picking out a car, I would actually consider the car based on the tech nowadays, that it's that important to me, being able to do a lot of these things. So I applaud Ford for being able to put this new tech in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
I completely agree.
We were fortunate enough too. When we went to CES, we met everybody there pretty much on the Ford team. And that was a great night. Some good drinks there too, but no. And no, it was really, really nice. What I liked about it also is we had a chance to go over the MyTouch as well, the app integration, that was pretty cool. That they opened up an API, but we had a chance to sit down with the lead developer for that technology, and I have to post it actually. I just in the queue for Dads on Tech.
That's right. Yeah, we never posted that. That's right.
Yeah.
That was a good interview. It really was. He was a young guy too.
Yeah. He was, and he's a really smart guy. Really excited about the product as well. He should be. And what's funny, what I found is that they actually are now finding that they have to do like a 45-minute session with people. Isn't
that funny though?
To teach people how to use their car, basically. Because they weren't that savvy, I guess.
No.
I mean, it's not hard. Yeah, it's not a hard piece of technology. It really isn't. You just have to, you know what it is? It's the crowd that doesn't read the 10-minute manual. That's who it is. So most of us can actually just look at the technology and figure it out right away. We know what to do, and maybe we'll reference the model, the the manual just to get the extra features that nobody else knows about. But but pretty much we get it right out of the box. But for those people who just need to sit down, read a 10-minute colorful brochure about what to do, but they just don't want to do it. So yeah, it's with any technology.
You know what, Dev? I mean, and I fall prey to this constantly. Where I'm a prosumer. I'm a guy in the tech field, and for me, it's common sense. It's like I hop into the Ford Focus and I say play Dave Matthews or read my text message, whatever the case might be. And for me, it's very, very natural. Mm-hmm. And like the article was saying, it's like we are the generation of the D-pad, and we completely understand how the technology works or should work. And we'll acclimate quickly enough. But I'm assuming a lot of folks or folks that are purchasing these Ford MyFord Touch enabled cars are just not that savvy. So when they hop into his car and the Ford dealer says, just say, play my favorite song. It's like, what? I don't have to go to the knob and turn the knob and hit a button and then scroll to my favorite song. It's like you can, but you don't really have to.
Yeah.
So I mean, I kind of understand why some folks need this 45-minute crash course in learning on how to manipulate the MyFord Touch.
Yeah. I mean, look, it's very feature rich, so I could see that you'd want to do that if you didn't pay attention or you didn't have that natural inclination for technology like a lot of us do. But yeah, I mean, I'll give a perfect example. If I were to get my mother to buy a new Ford, she'd need the 45-minute class. That's basically how it works. Or she'd call me up. So
30 times.
That's basically how it works.
Right from the car.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like call Zach. Yeah. But a great technology. It really is. I mean, and they're only scratching the surface. And what I really love about Ford is the two folks that we spoke to at Ford, including Jennifer Brace.
Yep.
Said the exact same thing. Said, we are a technology company that builds cars. That to me really blew me away because from as long as I have known Ford, quality is always job one, right?
Right.
They've always been a car company that builds cars. And over the past 2 or 3 years, the car company has had a massive hit in finances, a backlash from our government, a backlash from consumers. And Ford was one of the few companies, and Zed, correct me if I'm wrong, Ford was one of the few companies that did not take any money or bailout money from the government,
right,
and decided to reinvent themselves. And I guess the best way of them reinventing themselves is to focus on technology, knowing that technology can actually reduce the total cost of ownership of the cars they build today, and also increase the consumer's want or need to purchase that car. I told my wife, we love our Honda Civic, absolutely love our car. I don't think we will buy any other car. But in 2 or 3 years' time, when we're in the market to buy a new car, I told her, listen, we're buying a Ford. We're buying a Ford something. For no other reason because the MyFord Touch is beyond cool. And that would be the only reason.
Well, if you think about it from this perspective, cars have gone through a bunch of transitions. Different car companies have gone through different transitions. I guess the first transition was the Industrial Revolution, that type of mass production, mass quantity of car. Then it was how big the car was, right? And then it went through how small the car was and how efficient it was. And then it went to what the quality of the car was, the luxury of the car was. This is the next breaking evolution, which is technology. How technologically savvy is the car and how it matches my technological world outside of this vehicle and bring that in. And I think that is kind of where Ford discovered. They said to themselves, we're going to be on that precipice of the next evolution of where the automotive market is going to go, and that's technology integration. And they're doing a great job so far. They're really surpassing almost all of their competitors. All their competitors are on their heels, of course, but because they see them setting the pace. But no, Ford's doing a great job. They really have they set up a good partner, Microsoft. Even though we've got our bones with a lot of Microsoft stuff,
Sure.
But no, they set up a good partnership with them, and they discovered on their own with their own technological team, with their own developers in house, how to adapt and allow others to integrate with their great hardware and software technologies within their vehicles. So I'm excited to see where they go.
And like Dan just said, also the fact that the technology is not just for their high-end cars or only for the Lincoln Mercury cars, right?
Right.
The technology is actually being integrated in the lower-end cars, and that means a lot because I don't know about you, but I don't know that many people that can afford a Lincoln Mercury. But I do know a lot of folks who can afford a lower-end Ford car, like the Ford Focus. It's a beautiful. We were in it, right, Zev? It's actually gorgeous car.
And you want to know something funny? After we went to CES, I went to Florida and I rented a Ford Focus. I rented a 2011 Ford Focus with MyTouch, and I have to tell you, number one, great driving vehicle. Number two, quiet vehicle, and number three, great technology integration. So,
Awesome.
Can you ask any more? I mean, it really. That's
I think it's funny. You didn't even bring up gas mileage, which seems to be at the forefront of most people's minds. But yet the technology was so important to you, and that much of a feature that was the first thing you mentioned. So it speaks a lot to Ford's innovation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, good for Ford. Absolutely. In the same vein as this high tech in auto and technologies, the iPad 2, that video was unbelievable being installed in a Ford F-150. I mean, how cool was that? I mean, the fact that now you have FaceTime,
it was
now
well
you
worth
can play
8 minutes
Pandora.
to watch that video.
You can switch the video feed from watching a video on your iPad 2 and push it to the back to your TVs in the back of the Ford F-150. I mean, to me, it was fantastic. I mean, there was a lot of standing going on, by the way. It was an 8-minute video, and I think 4 minutes of it he spent standing. But I just thought that what a fantastic, creative way to use your iPad.
And what I'll do is I'll put it in to the feed to take a look at this. All right, there you go.
I like that they even made it so that it looked like the iPad was removable, so it wasn't just something that had to stay into the truck the whole time, but it was built so well that it could have just been a permanent part of the dash. They did such a nice job of that.
It could have. I mean, I agree with you, Dan. It's very cool that you can actually remove the iPad from the car. I mean, you spent, and this was the 3G, by the way, so you spent probably like $600 on this thing already. So you want to take the investment with you, right, when you need to. But I agree with you. I think it's a technology that you could have made permanent in the car, and it would have been absolutely fantastic. Just very, very impressed with what this guy did.
Well, my first thought, too, was, okay, that's great for your music. You can bring that with you. But when he pulled up the maps on there, then it really kind of occurred to me like that. Now, that's really cool that having the Google Maps and as you're driving, that's fantastic, especially that size of a screen. You're going to get yourself in trouble with the video chat, but that's a cool feature to do.
Hopefully you can pull over first because he had to lean over to actually do the iChat.
Yeah.
Or do FaceTime, sorry.
No, he was having a little bit of a difficulty trying to get it integrated with the Bluetooth. I found that funny.
Yeah, that was funny though. I mean, but listen, it was all it was all good, well and good. It just, to me, it just really blew me away that he could do something like that. And
it was literally day zero. It was O Day, like right there. They came in with it.
He must have paid some kids just wait on the line for like 4 hours and buy one.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, just fantastic. I mean, I would so definitely buy a car. That should be an option, right? That should be an option in any car. If you have a large enough dash, you want the iPad too, well, drop it in, not a problem. It'll cost you $2,000. Go knock yourself out. But very, very cool.
Or you can Or you can always buy a $50,000 Hyundai, right? Hyundai.
Yeah, I guess so.
Right.
I guess so. But again, and just, if anybody out there is planning on doing this with their car, with their Ford F-150, I mean, you need to have the iPad 3G. Okay, it can't be just the Wi-Fi model.
Exactly right.
You couldn't play Pandora. You can't do FaceTime. You can't do a lot of things. There are a lot of things you can't do when your iPad is not connected to the internet. So
speaking of which, by the way, did you see that? Did you see the update that AT&T sent out as for their data plans? They're upping.
No, I didn't see that.
They're going to be charging over. I think what is it? Over a 3-month period. If you have 3 gig or 4 gig of data, then they're going to bump you up an additional $10 per 2 gig or something like that. I've got to get the details on it, but they just released that today. So yeah.
On
Is
every
that just
level,
for the iPad?
on every
No,
level, it might be
I think iPhone or iPad.
Low AT&T.
Yeah,
With the exception of what they did today for Japan. Beyond that, I loathe AT&T on every level.
Yeah.
I just want to go on record saying that, and they know this already too, because I've told them plenty of times. I hate you as a cell phone company. You are horrible. But they're number 2. Well, actually number 1 now, right? So they can pretty much, I guess, do whatever they want.
Yeah. For the time being,
it's hard for people just to even know how much data they're using for their cell phones. In most of the companies, they're kind of just catching up to really show how to monitor it. You get a pretty good idea of your minutes and how many text messages, I suppose. But even myself, I'm pretty tech savvy. I have a hard time really tracking how much data I use month to month.
Yeah, unless you're going to get a real good meter on your phone, I can't. Where you're going to see the ticky. I don't know how much I use. I mean, especially if
and it can't even be a good meter, right? It has to be their meter. It would have to be an AT&T meter. It would have to be a Verizon meter. Because if you say, listen, I downloaded Zev Green's meter and it's telling me that I don't consume that much data on a monthly basis, they'll just say, well, then it's flawed. So it will have to be their meter.
Yeah, the easiest.
And I think right now, I could be wrong. I think Verizon right now is the only one who has or AT&T is the only one right now who has that data meter. I could be wrong.
Well, the easiest way they could do that would be to send you a text message when you reach certain limits. So,
and they do, yeah. They do. I mean, I get one. Well, I don't get one at all anymore because I have unlimited with AT&T.
Mm-hmm.
So I just go to town. When I do, I use it a lot. Pandora every day.
And see, that's why they're putting these limits in. It's you. You're the one. So
you're the problem.
Yeah, that's right.
And the last story of the day is Google and the CR48 laptop. Now, this laptop is coming out sometime in the middle of this year. It looks like Acer and Samsung are going to be the go-to companies that Google's going to be working with this year, at least for the foreseeable future. I'm sure HP will get into the mix, and IBM will get into the mix, and everybody else, every other OEM will get into the mix as well. But for right now, it looks like Acer and Samsung are the 2 kids that are going to be playing with this first. So I played with the CR48, and I really, really like it. It is as Zev will tell you, it is completely useless without a 3G connection. And this will be a CDMA connection, so it'll be on Verizon's network. And Verizon works fairly well in New York City. The data is a little slow, so just keep that in mind. But you'll have complete access. Once you have connection, you have complete access to everything Google, whether it be Docs, Gmail, Picasa, what have you. You will have access to it, and the thing boots up. I want to, I hate to say it boots up because there's very little boot time. I mean, this thing is up as quickly as it goes down. I mean, we're talking about seconds. It goes up, and seconds it goes down. And you log in with your Google credentials, and you're ready to go. And that's it. And I think it's a great machine. And for someone who relies heavily on the internet, for someone who relies heavily on Google properties, this is a great alternative for a laptop.
Yeah, I think if you're in an environment, especially in a workplace, where you'll utilize it at work exclusively, I think this is a phenomenal offering, because as long as you're wired, as long as you have wireless internet to do that, and as long as you're using the apps that are developed in the Chrome OS, I mean, you've seen Chrome Sync and Google Sync on that. It works great. You put your username and your password in. It syncs all your bookmarks, has all of your layouts, your customizations, has any of your apps that you've added, your plugin apps that you've added instantaneously. So I think that from a business perspective, you get Google Apps for your employees, so they have their email and all the other good stuff, and you give them a laptop that they'll be around the office with it, and if they lose it, you get a new one. If it breaks, you get a new one. Log in, log out. It's instantaneous. I think it's a really great offering for its space, for a something you're going to take with you on a business trip or something that you're going to do when you're on the airplane.
Sure.
Yeah, you're switched off. So,
did you find any limitations with it? Were there things that you felt, gosh, this didn't compare to a traditional Microsoft Windows powered laptop or anything like that?
Flash.
No, not really. I mean, yeah, like Zev said, Flash. But ultimately, this is a Google offering for Google properties.
Mm-hmm.
That's what it comes down to. It allows you to access the internet through Chrome. You can access all of their properties across the board, and that's why I said if you are a heavy Google user, this is a dream for you. I mean, you just literally log on. Is very quick. The booting process or the boot up time, I want to say it's like less than a second, maybe less than 2 seconds. It's just there's very little storage on the device itself. Everything takes place in the cloud, and and unfortunately I only had it in my hands playing around with it for about 25 minutes. So I try to run through the things that I would normally do at work or on a traditional laptop when I was in Google, and it did everything that I wanted it to do.
Yeah, I mean it's essentially a Chrome browser. So if Chrome browser works for you, then you're good to go.
And it's not a beefy machine, right? We're talking about 2 gig of RAM.
Right.
We're talking about it's 12.1 inch screen.
Yeah, it's an Atom processor.
A single core processor.
Yeah.
It's an Atom processor. Actually, I'm sorry, Intel processor.
Yeah.
So it's not a beefy machine, but when you think about it, you don't need a beefy machine when all your computing is being taken place in the cloud. So,
I mean, I just introduced my father to Google Docs, so he was asking me about OpenOffice. I said, don't OpenOffice, do Google Docs. It has limitations here and there, but I think for about, I'm going to say 80% to 85% of the users who use Microsoft Office Suite, Google Docs is more than sufficient. For those power users that want better presentations, that are going to need really super duper stuff, then you're going to want to go with a beefier presentation software package.
I agree. Yeah.
I was thinking in my college days, this would have been
definitely
perfect using Google Docs to write my papers.
If you are a power user,
anything else.
Right. Right. No, absolutely. For college, if you're in a college environment where you're wired all the time. Now, the only negative to that is you won't, you'll basically live off of Pandora or unless they have because there's no audio video storage service that's going to be equivalent, right, to like having an iTunes running in the background. So that's the only maybe limitation. But honestly, I think between the iPad, which is almost, I mean, that's pretty much, unless you're doing any graphics, making movies, stuff like that. Even on the iPad, you can do a little bit of that. But I think, I think that between that and the Google Chrome laptop, I think that pretty much if you set a good price range on that laptop, it's phenomenal. It really is.
And for price point, I want to say, and I just did a quick search on that. I couldn't find anything, but I want to say the rumor was $400.
That's not bad. That's not bad.
The CR48.
And
I think that's a little too high, but.
Now keep in mind though that now they only offered because it's going to come with a built-in SIM card slot, right? Or at least the ones that they released already.
Okay.
But the question is, they think they were saying Verizon only.
Yeah, well, it's CDMA, so it sounds like it's only going to be Verizon because Verizon is the largest CDMA carrier in the country. I mean, there are smaller CDMA carriers in the country, but Verizon is it. So I'm assuming it would only be on Verizon. Right.
Which is,
And again, I mean, Verizon has a slow data network compared with CDMA is a slow data network to begin with. So
So
and maybe this is a topic for
why
another show, but do you
that
think
route.
we'll reach a point where, I mean, are people still going to keep buying these tablets and like these type of computers from cell phone carriers? Because I just wonder, is the model working? Will you want to go to a Best Buy store instead to get it? I just wonder how much of these higher end devices are really going to be part of, say, Verizon or AT&T's revenue model in the years to come.
That's a great question.
Yeah, it is a good question.
I don't know.
I really don't know. I mean, Google unfortunately has been infamous for having a single source supplier. For like, for example, for the G2, not for the G2, for the oh my God, I'm drawing a blank here. What's the phone you have in your hand right now, there, Sam?
the Nexus line of phones.
Right. So that was
Nexus
only
S,
through Best Buy, right? So, and I really. It's really annoying when they do that. I'm sure they have a business case for doing that, but I can see them doing something like this for the CR48, just giving it to a Best Buy or only to Verizon, so Verizon can sell it. I can definitely see that happening.
I think they're also aiming for the education market. I really do.
Yeah, this is a great move for the education market. It really is. I mean, especially I think $400 is a little bit too high because this is not a netbook. Netbook has a little oomph behind it. This has very little oomph behind it, right?
Yes.
So if they come at a price point of $300, maybe $200, maybe if Verizon subsidizes it, it might be $200. I think it's a really good price point.
I mean, I was thinking, $350 to $400. I mean, I don't know how you can do hardware for any less. Even though it's
point's that low, I mean, do you think is it going to cut into Apple's market share? I mean, Apple, when you go to any college campus now, everybody's got a Mac, but if this is that good and that cheap, should Apple be concerned?
Yes.
I don't think Apple's ever really concerned about their competitors. I mean, they may look over their shoulder, but I don't think Apple ever is really running scared, which is a little annoying. But Apple always seems to do what they want to do because they think it's best, and the Apple masses, the core heads, and your Apple fanboys, and some of the consumers and prosumers just follow suit. They just make great products, and people will pay top dollar for their great products.
I'll tell you, I was in the Apple store today looking at the iPad 2, and it was packed. I went to 2 stores just to make sure that they didn't have any extras just lying in the corner. And it was packed. So I don't know. I think, though, you will get a certain segment of the market that will be eaten away and go this route if that price point is there. You are paying. The Apple tax does exist, meaning for a laptop, a regular just laptop, you're going to pay, almost twice as much for a MacBook because it's made out of aluminum and it's got all this stuff, and it's not a crappy plastic flexible.
It's not a netbook.
Yeah,
it's not a netbook.
It's not a netbook. Yeah. It doesn't. The fan isn't over crazy hot and whirring and 80 decibels. So yeah, it's you are paying a little bit more for the engineering and the style and all that stuff. But I think the brass tacks people who are going to be the parents who say, look, I can't afford $1,000 or $1,200. $400 for the laptop, you'll be able to do your applications, you'll be able to browse the web. It's a decent piece of hardware, and you have pretty much everything in there. So I think for that,
and the data plan, just worry about whatever data plan Verizon attached to this, whether it's their traditional data plan or whether they build a new data plan just for this particular device.
Right.
I mean, Google has a lot of power. Google has a lot of negotiation leverage, I believe, at this point. So they might Verizon may do a brand new plan for this device.
And just on another note, Google has been doing a lot of work with getting their Google Apps for Education, getting a lot of schools on board where maybe it's less common for schools to provide email addresses to students on the university level. Like maybe it's not as much needed, but Google is really working to get their services on there, providing it so that I could see that this eventually could be an easy tie-in. That if your student email address is already on a Google server and your school's bought into it, then why not get one of these and connect and be able to collaborate with your teachers a little bit easier. The schools that have it, it makes it real easy for the teachers will post something on Google Docs, the class syllabus, and it makes it easy for the kids to collaborate. So maybe there's an opportunity there for Google in the years to come.
Sounds like something.
Absolutely.
Sounds like something for Google Circles.
I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Texas A&M. They actually switched over their entire Office suite to Google Docs and saved them an insane amount of money by going that route. And and a lot of these universities are progressive and forward thinking. There's a college in Pennsylvania called Seton Hill University, not Seton Hall, Seton Hill University, and they are giving out iPads to all of their students. They're including the price in their tuition, but every student is now getting an iPad. So what's to say that a school like Texas A&M or some other school that's switching over to Google Docs won't do the same thing with CR48? So listen, we are wholly a Google Docs environment, so we will take these CR48s and give them to our students, and there you go. So you're right, Dan. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there are multiple ways to look at this and how Google wants to actually market this product. And I agree. I think that a good subset of our population would be college students.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that said, it is another show. Should I say in the can? I want to come up with a really good saying,
yeah,
but I have nothing. So maybe I'll just say it's in the can, and then Leo will call me and tell me to stop doing that.
But I think next week I'm going to have to take your recommendation there and find a designated beer or wine or something to bring in. I'm very jealous of watching you drink this the entire show.
Oh, yeah, man.
Exactly.
One thing, I mean, and I thought about this too, and I was telling Deb about this, that we should really find some kind of beer distributor, wine distributor, somebody who, who's willing to send over a bottle or two or a case or two, and we can talk about the beer and the wine online.
Well, my
dad's on tech, and we love beer.
My dad's moving down to Delaware, so maybe we can get some of that dogfish. Dogfish
whatever,
beer.
man.
Yeah.
Should bring up a case.
Exactly.
And that'd be good. But all right, so this is another show in the can, and this is BreakBumper.tv. If you want to follow us on Twitter, it is BreakBumperTV. If you'd like to follow Dan Anderson on Twitter, it is Dan Anderson. Zev, it's Zev Mo, and myself is Ramon B. Nuez Jr. And it is another show. We're done. Thank you so much for listening and being patient with us, I guess. And we are on every Monday at 9 p.m.-ish EST time. So please come on by, check us out, comment. We're actually on right now in the chat room, so please come by and just leave a comment or ask a question, whatever the case is. And again, thank you so much. And thank you very much for Zev and Dan for being fantastic co-hosts.
Thank you. Have a great week.
Oh!